She's remembered as Egypt's greatest queen. But here's the twist. Cleopatra wasn't even Egyptian. She seduced the two most powerful men in Rome and bent an empire to her will. And yet, the real Cleopatra? We may never know her at all, because her story was erased by her enemies. But if her enemies tried to erase her, let's dig up what they couldn't hide. Chapter 1. Cleopatra's Origins. The real Cleopatra looked like a ruler carved in stone. Sharp nose, sharp mind, don't mess with me vibes, and impossible to ignore. But the Cleopatra you know? History polished her into a beauty queen. Cleopatra the seventh Philopator. Yes, seventh, because originality wasn't exactly a family tradition. Was born in 69 BCE in Alexandria, Egypt, the fancy Greek-style capital built by Alexander the Great. Basically, imagine being born in a city designed to scream, "We're cooler than you," to the rest of the ancient world. Her parents? Ptolemy XII Auletes, nicknamed the Flute Player. Yes, her dad was literally known for his flute skills, not his ruling skills. And possibly Cleopatra V. Now, historians still fight about who her mother was, which is peak ancient drama. Congrats on being born, honey, but we're not entirely sure which royal mom popped you out. Her dad, by the way, was terrible at running Egypt. He loved Greek culture more than actual Egyptians, which made the locals, let's say, not fans. Think of a king who spends more time trying to impress Rome and blowing money on parties than actually feeding people. Cleopatra grew up in this mess. Bankrupt treasury, starving subjects, Rome breathing down Egypt's neck. But instead of being another clueless royal brat, she stood out. While other Ptolemies were busy marrying their siblings and stabbing each other, classic family hobby, Cleopatra was actually smart, sharp, charismatic. The type of kid who'd correct your grammar and convince you it was your idea. Unlike most of her family, she actually spoke Egyptian. Wild, right? Her dynasty had ruled Egypt for 300 years and barely bothered learning the local language. Cleopatra? She spoke not just Egyptian, but at least 9 languages. Imagine your sassy queen roasting you in your own tongue. That's power. As for schooling, the Ptolemies were Greek royals, so she got the full royal education in Alexandria. Philosophy, math, astronomy, rhetoric, politics, and of course, the how not to get poisoned by your relatives starter pack. She wasn't just book smart, she had stage presence. People remembered her not for jaw-dropping beauty, but because she could walk into a room and own it. Cleopatra's family, the Ptolemies, weren't Egyptian at all. They were Greek
imports who showed up after Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 BCE. Think of them as the original expats, moved in, ate the food, ruled the place, but refused to learn the language.
For 300 years, they ran Egypt like a Greek-only club, spoke Greek, married their siblings, ew, and treated the locals like background extras. But Cleopatra? She broke the script. She actually learned Egyptian, the first in her family to do it. And suddenly, the people went, wait, the queen actually understands us? Revolutionary. Her obsession with Egyptian gods and traditions, and suddenly she wasn't just ruling Egypt, she was performing Egypt. She wasn't just another Greek royal in eyeliner. She played both sides, Greek brain, Egyptian heart, and a political poker face sharp enough to make Rome sweat. So no, Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian by blood, but she performed Egypt so well, she became more Egyptian than the Egyptians. And that's why history remembers her. Chapter 2. House of Chaos. Cleopatra wasn't an only child. Oh no, she was born into the royal Hunger Games. Her dad, the flute guy, had multiple kids with different women. Record-keeping back then was trash, so historians still argue about who exactly came from which mom. Berenice IV, older sister. bold, rebellious, and literally tried to steal the throne while Dad was away. Cleopatra VII, our girl. Middle child energy, but ambitious enough to outshine them all. Arsinoe IV. This is what Arsinoe might have looked like, but her image wasn't celebrated or preserved like other royals. She is the jealous little sister and a professional backstabber. Ptolemy XIII. Younger brother, about 6 years behind Cleo. A brat with way too much power. Ptolemy XIV. The baby. Mostly remembered for being not remembered. Cleopatra's dad, Ptolemy XII, wasn't exactly king of the year. The Alexandrian crowd hated him so much, they basically kicked him out in 58 BCE, royal vacation style. While he was gone, Cleopatra's older sister, Berenice IV, grabbed the throne. At first, she married some random local guy, but dumped him fast because he didn't have enough royal sparkle. Then, she upgraded to a Seleucid prince, Seleucus VII, and executed him almost immediately for being, well, insufferable. Finally, she settled on another Seleucid, Archelaus, and co-ruled with him. Why all the musical chairs? Because her real brothers, the ones she was supposed to marry under family tradition, were literal children. Hard to stage a wedding when your groom still needs a babysitter. And since she wasn't a permanent queen, Dad was technically still alive, she had to try harder to look legit. But when Daddy Flute Player returned in 55 BCE with Roman backup, he wasn't impressed with her husband collection. He executed Berenice on the spot, proving that in this family, the only thing shorter than a Seleucid marriage was your life expectancy. Chapter 3.
Cleopatra becomes pharaoh. In 51 BCE, Cleopatra's dad, the flute guy, who was better at music than monarchy, finally died.
Egypt was broke, starving, and hanging by a thread. So naturally, it was time to hand the keys of the kingdom to an 18-year-old girl and her 10-year-old brother. Why them? Tradition. The Ptolemies had this rule: power must always stay in the family. And since Cleopatra was the eldest surviving daughter, and Ptolemy XIII was the eldest surviving son, they were forced into co-ruling. Think of it like a company that insists the CEO and CFO must be siblings. No experience required, just bloodline. And because siblings sharing power wasn't weird enough, they sealed it the royal way: an immediate marriage. Yep, Cleopatra went from Dad's funeral to wedding with her little brother in record time. She was 18, he was 10. A marriage that was less romance and more duct tape for the throne. Was she happy about it? Absolutely not. But in Ptolemaic Egypt, choice wasn't the point. Marriage was just paperwork for politics, a way to make sure the throne didn't slip out of family hands.
And that's when she pulled the move that made her a legend. And trust me, what happens next makes this look like a warm-up. Stay tuned for part 2.